The stars burned bright across the dark sky of the galactic arena. Thousands of alien warriors from every corner of the galaxy filled the massive stadium, their metallic bodies shining under blue lights. This was where the Tournament of Strength was held every 1,000 years, a place where only the strongest survived. When the announcement came that a new species had joined this year, laughter echoed across the arena. Humans? One of the reptilian warriors hissed. They are soft creatures. No claws, no scales, no armor. Why are they even here? Others laughed too. The crowd buzzed with mockery. Even the mighty General Cathor, commander of the Vrax Empire, smirked. Let them try, he said. Maybe they can entertain us before they die. At the far end of the field, 5 humans stood quietly. They wore no fancy armor, no glowing weapons, just simple suits and calm faces. Their leader, Captain Mira Hayes, stood tall with steady eyes. She didn't react to the laughter. Instead, she looked up at the alien crowd and whispered, "Let them underestimate us." The signal horn blasted. The first test was announced, the trial of gravity. The arena floor shimmered as gravity increased 10 times the normal level. Even the strongest alien warriors bent their knees, struggling to stay upright. The air turned heavy, pressing down like a mountain. One by one, the weaker species fell to the ground. But to everyone's shock, the humans didn't fall. They moved slowly at first, but with control. Captain Mira gave a small command. The team dropped to the ground not because they fell, but because they started push-ups. The crowd gasped. Even under crushing gravity, they were training. General Cathor frowned. Are they exercising? His assistant nodded nervously. Yes, sir. It seems they are. Increasing their strength. No one in the galaxy had ever seen such a thing. Training during a test, madness. But the humans continued, pushing their bodies until sweat rolled down their faces. Their muscles trembled, but their eyes burned with quiet determination. When the gravity finally lifted, most species lay flat, exhausted. But the humans stood tall, breathing hard yet smiling. Mira looked at her team. Remember, she said softly, we're not here to prove we're strong. We're here to show what strength means. The next day, rumors spread through the galaxy. The humans endured the trial of gravity. They didn't fight. They trained. For the first time in centuries, the warriors of the galaxy felt something unusual. Curiosity. Who were these fragile beings that refused to quit? That night, inside their small quarters, Mira's team prepared for the next challenge. The youngest, Eli, spoke up. Captain, they hate us. They think we don't belong here. Mira smiled. Good, let them think that. Every second they spend laughing at us, we grow stronger. The others nodded. Their training continued deep into the night. No fancy machines, no alien tech. Just push-ups, running, shadow drills. The sound of human breath and heartbeats echoed through the metal halls. An alien janitor passing by stopped and stared. He couldn't understand it. They already survived the trial. Why keep training? He muttered. What are they preparing for? The next morning, the scoreboard flashed second trial, the test of reflexes. Warriors would face a swarm of robotic drones firing energy bolts at incredible speed. Reflex and instinct would decide who survived. When the humans entered the arena again, the laughter returned, but softer this time. Let's see how fast they really are, Cathor growled. The buzzer rang. Drones surrounded the humans, firing from every direction. Blue energy filled the air like lightning. The crowd cheered, expecting the humans to be vaporized in seconds, but they weren't. The humans moved, not with super speed, but with perfect coordination. Each one dodged in rhythm, rolling, ducking, sliding. Their movements were smooth, almost like a dance. Every time one drone fired, another human shouted a warning. Left. Down. Rotate. Their teamwork was flawless. Where aliens relied on brute strength, humans used trust, instinct, and timing. When the test ended, silence filled the arena. Every drone lay smoking on the floor, and the humans stood breathing hard, but alive. General Cathor rose slowly, his massive claws gripping the railing. They are not strong, he said quietly, but they are something far more dangerous. The crowd waited for his words. They are disciplined. As the humans walked off the field, Mira glanced back at the silent crowd. For the first time, she saw no laughter, only watchful eyes. She smiled slightly. Now, she whispered, they're beginning to see us. The galactic arena was quieter than usual the next morning. The laughter that once echoed through the halls was gone. Now every eye in the galaxy watched the humans with a strange curiosity. They had survived 2 impossible tests. They had not shown great strength or strange powers, only patience, teamwork, and will. And that frightened the warriors more than anything else. At dawn, the sky of the arena turned crimson. The announcer's voice thundered through the speakers. Next challenge, the fire trial. Survive the flames of the sun. Gasps spread through the crowd. Even veteran soldiers looked uneasy. This test was famous for breaking the strongest species. Inside the fire chamber, temperatures reached levels that melted titanium. Few lasted more than a minute. When the human team entered the glowing chamber, the audience leaned forward. They expected screams, panic, and failure, but Captain Mira Hayes simply closed her eyes. She took a slow breath. Team, remember the rule. Her soldiers nodded. Control your fear before you control the fire. The chamber doors slammed shut. Instantly, waves of heat rippled through the air. Flames crawled up the metallic walls, licking the ground like hungry beasts. The temperature soared. Alien monitors outside showed human skin turning red. Their suits began to glow faintly from the heat. Enough, barked General Cathor. They'll burn alive. But the humans did not scream. They knelt in a circle, backs straight, eyes closed. Meditation, breathing control. They had trained for this, not with machines, but with discipline of the mind. They had studied ancient human soldiers who endured deserts and volcanoes on their world. They had learned that pain was only information. Minutes passed. Their breathing slowed, heartbeats synced, the fire raged, and yet they stayed calm. When the temperature hit its peak, something incredible happened. Their suits shimmered, not from technology, but from sweat evaporating and cooling their skin. Their pulse stayed steady. Outside, the audience fell into stunned silence. A single alien whisper broke the quiet. They're not fighting the fire. They're accepting it. At the 7-minute mark, the chamber cooled. The doors opened. Steam poured out, hiding everything in white mist. For a moment, no one could see inside. Then 5 silhouettes appeared, walking slowly, calmly, alive. The crowd stood up. Even the announcer forgot to speak. The impossible had happened. Later, in the rest zone, Mira sat with her team, skin blistered, voices hoarse. Eli laughed weakly. They thought we'd die, Captain. Mira smiled faintly. We almost did. But that's the beauty of being human. We learn how to live on the edge of death. Another teammate, Dr. Lena, looked at her burned hands. Do you think they'll respect us now? Mira's eyes turned serious. Respect is earned. But first, they must understand us. And that takes fear. That night, across the galaxy, broadcasts showed the footage of the fire trial. Billions watched as fragile creatures of flesh walked through a storm of fire and came out breathing. On distant worlds, alien children imitated human push-ups. Soldiers whispered about the Terran way. Commanders grew uneasy. If such a young species could survive this, what would happen when they truly learned to fight? Meanwhile, deep inside the Vrax Empire's military tower, General Cathor studied the footage alone. He rewound it again and again. The moment Mira closed her eyes, the team kneeling in unison. He felt something he hadn't felt in decades, in respect. And a hint of fear. These creatures, he muttered. They don't fight the environment, they become part of it. What kind of warriors does that create? A faint metallic voice answered. It was his aide, an AI drone. General, the next trial has been confirmed, the void descent. Cathor frowned. The vacuum test? Yes, 0 gravity, no air, no heat, no sound. Death in 30 seconds for most species. Cathor paused. Prepare it. I want to see if their spirit can survive nothingness. Back in the human quarters, Mira gathered her team. They sat in silence, the lights dim, the air filled with exhaustion. She projected a small hologram of Earth, blue, calm, and distant. Look at it, she said softly. That's where we come from. Storms, deserts, volcanoes, ice. We've lived through everything our planet threw at us. That's our training ground, Eli whispered. And now the galaxy will see it too. Mira nodded. Tomorrow we face the void. No sound, no breath. Just the truth of what we are. As the lights dimmed and the camera drones floated away, the galaxy waited in silence. The humans had walked through gravity. They had danced through fire. And now, they were about to enter the emptiness of space itself. Somewhere in the crowd, an old alien general whispered the words that many were thinking. They called themselves weak. But maybe weakness was their greatest weapon. The arena was silent. Even the stars outside seemed to hold their breath. The announcement of the next test had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The void descent. The test that crushed champions, erased pride, and silenced even the strongest empires. This time it wasn't about strength or heat or speed. It was about nothingness. Inside the void chamber there was no air, no sound, no gravity. Only darkness and silence so deep that it broke minds. Species with telepathy lost their connection. Those who depended on oxygen or light simply faded. For most, 30 seconds was death. The crowd filled the massive stadium again, but this time there was no laughter. Only whispers. Will the humans really try this? They can't survive vacuum. Their skin will burst. They won't last a heartbeat. Yet when the chamber doors opened, the humans walked in, calm and steady. Their eyes focused. Their leader, Captain Mira Hayes, stepped first. Before entering, she looked at the announcer and said, "Start recording. The galaxy should see this." Inside the void chamber, the doors sealed. Instantly, all sound disappeared. The light dimmed until only the faint glow from their suit helmets remained. Gravity vanished. Their bodies floated in emptiness. The air was gone, the warmth was gone, but so was fear. The team's breathing slowed, hearts steady. They had trained for this moment back on Earth, not in vacuum, but in cold oceans, high mountains, and deep caves, where silence was louder than screams. Mira raised her hand slowly. One signal, 5 fingers extended. Her teammates mirrored her. They were communicating through movement, not words. When the air left their lungs, their bodies began to ache. Blood pounded in their ears, but they stayed calm. Their suits, built with limited tech, could only hold pressure for 90 seconds. They didn't fight the void. They flowed with it, letting the silence wash through them. Their minds went still. No panic, only focus. In that darkness, something ancient awakened inside them, the survival instinct of humankind, born through centuries of storms, hunger, and space dreams. Outside, the monitors flickered. The chamber's readings went flat. No movement. No heartbeat detected. Gasps spread through the crowd. Did they die? Are they gone? Even General Cathor leaned forward, his claws gripping the console. Impossible. Not even I could. Then suddenly the chamber lights flashed. 5 glowing signals appeared on the screen. 5 steady heartbeats. They were alive, and then something even stranger happened. Inside the void, the humans began to move again. Slowly, gracefully, in perfect formation, using small body motions to stabilize themselves in zero gravity. To the watching galaxy, it looked like a silent ballet of survival. 5 fragile beings floating through nothing, yet somehow at peace. They lasted 1 minute, then 90 seconds, then 2 full minutes, a new record. The emergency alarm went off, forcing the system to restore pressure. The chamber doors burst open, steam billowing out. The humans floated out, unconscious but breathing. Alive. The medics rushed in, scanning their vitals in disbelief. "All 5 are stable," one whispered. No brain damage. No panic response. No trauma. The crowd erupted in shock. No one had ever mastered the void like that. Hours later, when Mira woke in the medical bay, the first thing she heard was silence, and then applause. Through the glass window, she saw thousands of alien soldiers standing in formation, saluting her. Her voice was weak but calm. "How long did we last?" Dr. Lena smiled. 2 minutes and 18 seconds, Mira chuckled softly. Not bad. For soft creatures. They all laughed, even the guards outside. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the human footage spread again. Children on distant planets watched it, mouths open. Scholars debated what they saw. Some called it courage. Others called it madness. But one thing was clear. The humans were different. They didn't win by overpowering their enemies. They won by mastering themselves. That night, General Cathor stood on his ship's deck watching the stars. His aide approached. "General, the Council wants to disqualify the humans. They say their methods are unnatural." Cathor's eyes narrowed. Unnatural? He shook his head slowly. "No, they are nature perfected. Every weakness turned into a weapon." He turned to the stars. "I once thought strength came from claws and armor, but they've shown me that strength begins in the mind." In the human quarters, Mira and her team sat together, weak but proud. Eli grinned. "Captain, what do you think the next trial will be?" Mira looked up at the glowing stars through the glass ceiling. "Something worse," she said quietly. "They can't accept what they've seen. So next time, they'll try to break us." Her words hung heavy in the air, because she was right. Across the galaxy, powerful races met in secret. They had seen enough. If humans could survive the void, what could stop them next? And so, they planned something new. A trial not of body or mind, but of heart. A test that would tear them apart from the inside. The arena was darker this time. No music, no cheers. Only silence. Heavy and waiting. Everyone in the galaxy now knew the human's name. They had faced gravity, fire, and the void itself. And each time they had done the impossible. But now the Council of Elders decided on something different. Not a test of muscle or breath, but a test that would break their souls. It was called the Trial of Heart. The rules were simple. Each warrior would enter a simulation chamber alone. Inside they would face what they feared most. Not an enemy, not pain, but loss. No weapon could help. Only truth could. "Humans think strength is will," said one alien judge coldly. "Let's see if their hearts can survive what their bodies cannot." When Captain Mira Hayes heard the announcement, she knew it was a trap. "Emotional warfare," she whispered. Dr. Lena frowned. "They want to divide us. Make us break from the inside." Mira nodded. "We stay strong. Remember, whatever you see inside, it's not real. Don't let it win." The team nodded, but everyone felt the same chill. This test was different. It didn't attack the body. It attacked memories. The first chamber. Eli stepped into the glowing room. The door closed behind him. Darkness swallowed him whole, then light. He was standing in a forest, Earth's forest. He could hear birds. He could smell rain. And in front of him stood his little sister, Anna. She smiled, just like before she died in the accident years ago. "Eli," she said softly, "why did you leave me?" He froze. "You're not real." She stepped closer, tears in her eyes. "You could have saved me. You ran away. You always run." The words pierced him. The fire, the void, none of it had hurt this much. He dropped to his knees, trembling. "I'm sorry. I was a kid. I didn't know what to do." Anna smiled sadly. "Then don't run now," Eli gasped. The illusion faded. He was back in the chamber, tears streaming down his face, but alive. The machine beeped softly, passed. The second chamber. Dr. Lena, her chamber, was cold. When the light returned, she found herself in a medical lab, her old one. The same one where her mentor had died trying to save an alien child. On the table lay the same child again, crying, begging. "Help me, please." She ran forward, working fast, but every tool failed. Every attempt ended in the same sound. Silence. She screamed. "No, not again." Her knees hit the floor. Her hands shook. For a moment, she wanted to give up. Then she remembered Mira's words. "Don't let it win." Lena looked up at the holographic stars above. "I couldn't save her then," she whispered. "But I saved others after. That's who I am now." The illusion cracked and shattered like glass. She too had passed. The third chamber. Mira. The crowd waited. Everyone wanted to see what would happen to the human captain. The woman who led her people through fire and silence. Could she face her own heart? Inside the chamber, darkness stretched infinitely. Then came light, and she saw Earth, but it wasn't the Earth she knew. It was burning. Cities in flames, smoke rising through the sky. Her people screamed for help. Her soldiers looked to her. "Mira, why did you leave us?" Her mother's voice whispered behind her, gentle but sharp. "You wanted to be a hero, but you forgot home." Mira fell to her knees, gripping her head. "No, I didn't forget. I fought for them." The illusion showed more. Soldiers dying, humans enslaved, her flag falling. Every fear she buried came alive, but slowly she raised her head. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was steady. "If I die here, it's for them. If I cry here, it's for them. Everything I do is for Earth." The flames vanished. The stars returned. Mira stood alone in the chamber, shaking but unbroken. The system beeped past. When all five emerged, the crowd was silent again. No one laughed. No one spoke. The humans looked exhausted, their faces pale, eyes red. But something in them had changed. They were no longer just warriors. They were survivors of the soul. General Cathor rose from his seat. He bowed his head slowly. The heart of humanity, he said quietly, is made of fire and sorrow. No machine can copy that. Later in their quarters, the team sat in silence. No training tonight. No laughter. Just quiet understanding, Eli whispered. Captain, I saw my sister. She forgave me. Mira smiled faintly. Then the trial did its job. It showed us who we are, Lena added. They tried to break us, but they only made us stronger. Mira looked out through the glass wall where alien ships floated in silence. The galaxy is watching, she said. And now they've learned something dangerous. What's that? Eli asked. That you can't defeat a species that knows how to fight itself and still rise. The galaxy had gone quiet. For the first time in history, no one mocked the humans. Every species, warriors, kings, generals, now watched them with a mix of awe and unease. The humans had passed every trial, gravity, fire, the void, even the heart, but victory often brings fear, and fear brings betrayal. The council's secret meeting far above the arena, in a golden chamber lit by blue stars, the Galactic Council gathered in secret. 12 beings, rulers of ancient empires, sat in silence. On the central screen, images of the humans flashed. Their faces during the trials, their strength, their calmness. They are dangerous, hissed one of the elders, a being made of crystal light. They have no claws, no wings, no armor, yet they endure everything. Another counselor growled. Endure? They evolve. Each challenge made them stronger. What happens when they start fighting back? General Cathor stood at the edge of the room, silent. He had once laughed at the humans, but now he respected them. Still, he knew what was coming. They are not ready for war, Cathor said carefully. They only wish to prove themselves. The council leader, an ancient creature called Valzan, turned toward him. You are blinded by admiration, General. If they can survive our trials, they can one day overthrow us. We cannot allow that. The decision was made that night. The next test would not be a test. It would be a trap, the false celebration. The next morning, the arena was filled with bright banners and cheers. Music thundered. Fireworks filled the sky. An announcer declared, The humans have proven themselves. Tonight they will receive the medal of the galaxy. Crowds roared. Even the humans smiled for the first time. Eli laughed. We did it. We finally earned their respect. Dr. Lena nodded. Feels strange, doesn't it? No fighting, no fire, just peace. But Captain Mira Hayes didn't smile. Her instincts whispered something was wrong. Stay alert, she said quietly. Peace in this place doesn't come without a price. As the humans walked toward the grand stage, soldiers from dozens of alien races lined the path. The music grew louder. The lights brighter. Then everything went dark. The sound died. The lights flickered out. A cold voice filled the air. Humans of Earth, your trials are over. Your threat must end. From the shadows, energy nets dropped. The humans were caught, electricity surging through their bodies. The crowd gasped. What are they doing? Someone shouted. This wasn't part of the ceremony. But it was too late. Mira screamed as her team was dragged across the floor by armored guards. Eli, Lena. They struggled, but the shock fields were too strong. The humans were thrown into containment pods, small metal cells with glowing seals. General Cathor stood frozen in the stands, rage boiling in his chest. He turned to the council chamber's hologram. This is dishonor. They passed every trial. Valzan's cold voice replied, They are a threat to the balance. Strength like that cannot exist uncontrolled. Cathor slammed his fist into the wall, cracking the metal. You fear them because they remind you of what we've forgotten. Courage. But no one listened. Imprisoned in the darkness of her cell, Mira tried to move. Her wrists were bound by magnetic cuffs. She could barely breathe. Across from her, Eli's weak voice echoed. Captain, why? We followed every rule. Mira's voice was rough but calm, because they never wanted to see us win. They wanted to prove they were gods, Dr. Lena whispered. What now? Mira took a slow breath. Now, we remind them what humans do when they're cornered. She closed her eyes, reaching into her sleeve. Inside, hidden since the first trial, was a small micro-tool, a piece of Earth tech no one had recognized. Tiny, harmless looking, but it could short-circuit energy locks. She began to work in silence. Sparks flashed. A click. The cuffs loosened. The escape hours later, alarms blared across the station. Guards ran through corridors as the lights turned red. They're escaping. The humans are loose. Mira led her team through narrow vents and maintenance shafts. Her voice was steady, controlled. Stay low. Stay silent. We move like shadows. They reached an observation deck overlooking the stars. For a moment they stopped, looking out at the vast galaxy that had mocked them. Eli whispered, "They tried to break us." Mira nodded, and failed again. Behind them, explosions shook the walls. They had triggered the emergency power grid, enough chaos to vanish in the confusion. As they slipped into a stolen transport pod, Mira looked back one last time at the arena where it all began. She whispered softly, "You wanted to test our strength. Now you'll see what happens when humans fight back." The pod shot into hyperspace, disappearing into the black. In the council chamber, Veilzan's voice trembled with anger. "Find them. Destroy them. No human must live to tell this story." But General Cathor simply stared at the empty stars. A faint smile crossed his face. "They're free," he murmured. "And when humans are free, nothing in the galaxy can stop them." The stolen pod drifted through the endless dark of space. Inside, 5 exhausted humans sat in silence, their faces pale but their eyes alive. The stars outside stretched into lines of light as they entered hyperspace, running, not from fear but from betrayal. Mira Hayes sat at the controls, hands trembling slightly. Her voice was low and steady. "We're clear. The council won't trace this pod easily, but they'll come." Eli leaned back, still breathing hard. "After everything we did for them, they wanted us dead." Dr. Lena wiped blood from her lip. "They feared us, Eli. We showed them something they didn't understand, humanity." No one spoke for a while. The hum of the pod's engine filled the silence. Out there, hundreds of alien empires watched the skies, searching for a group of fragile creatures who had refused to die. Mira finally broke the quiet. "We need allies. Who would help us?" asked Eli. "Every major species follows the council." "Not everyone," Mira replied. "There are worlds they've abandoned. Colonies on the edges of the galaxy. The forgotten ones. They know what it means to be hunted." She pressed a sequence on the control pad. A small hologram flickered to life. A map of the outer systems. A red mark pulsed at the edge of the screen. "Outpost Thaler," she said. "A mining world. The council left it decades ago. If anyone still lives there, they might listen." The team exchanged looks. They were tired, broken, but there was fire in their eyes again. They nodded. The pod changed course, heading toward the unknown. 3 days later, the humans stepped out onto the dusty surface of Thalor. The wind howled across empty plains. The sky was gray, the air thin. Broken towers and old mining machines lay scattered like bones. "This place is dead," Eli muttered. "Maybe," Mira said, scanning the horizon. "But death has a way of hiding survivors." A faint metallic sound echoed, then movement. Figures emerged from the mist, cloaked in tattered robes. Their eyes glowed faintly blue. "Who are you?" one of them demanded. "Humans," Mira said simply. The figures whispered among themselves. One stepped forward, revealing a scarred reptilian face, not hostile, just curious. "The ones from the trials?" "Yes," Mira replied. "The council betrayed us." The alien nodded slowly. "Then you are not the first." He led them through the ruins to a hidden tunnel. Inside, light returned. Torches, old machines, and hundreds of survivors. Different species, once enemies, now living together in secret. Mira looked around in disbelief. "You've been hiding here all this time?" The leader smiled bitterly. "Hiding? No, waiting. The council controls the galaxy with fear. Those who disobey disappear. We were soldiers once, rebels now." Dr. Lena stepped forward. "We need help. They'll hunt us. We can't fight their fleets alone." The alien leader studied her for a long moment. "You survived the trials. You faced the void and the fire. Why should we risk our lives for you?" Mira met his eyes. "Because we're not asking you to fight for us. We're asking you to fight with us. Together we can break the council's chains." The room fell silent. Then slowly heads began to nod. The alliance was born that night in between humans and the forgotten. Over the next days, the underground base came alive. Humans shared what little Earth tech they had, tools built from simplicity and grit. The aliens brought scavenged weapons, engines, and maps of old war routes. Eli learned to repair plasma rifles. Lena helped heal wounded rebels. Mira trained the fighters herself using Earth combat drills, push-ups, endurance runs, body control under stress. At first, the aliens struggled, but then they began to laugh, the kind of laughter that came from rediscovering hope. "They're teaching us how to suffer," one alien joked. "No," said another, smiling. "They're teaching us how to survive." News began to spread, carried through whispers and hidden transmissions. "The humans live. The Council failed to kill them. They are building something." Fear began to shift, this time, away from humans and toward the Council. One evening, as Mira watched the stars from the base entrance, General Cathor appeared on the hologram projector. His face looked older, weary. "Mira Hayes," he said softly. "You've started a storm." "You were part of them," she said coldly. "You watched them betray us." "I couldn't stop it," Cathor replied. "But I can help now." The air thickened with tension. "Why?" she asked. "Because," he said, "I've seen many wars. None were as dangerous as the one we're heading toward. And if the humans win, maybe the galaxy deserves to change." Mira stared at him for a long moment. Then she extended her hand toward the hologram. "Then let's change it together." Cathor smiled faintly. "The Council won't go down easily." Mira's eyes hardened. "Neither did we." As the hologram faded, Mira turned to her team. The wind outside howled again, carrying dust across the dying planet. She whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. "They wanted to erase us from history, but now, history begins with us." In the distance, the night sky burned with the light of distant ships. The Council was coming. And this time, the humans weren't just survivors. They were an army. The stars above Thalor burned red as the enemy fleet arrived. The sky itself seemed to shatter under the weight of the Council's warships. Thousands of them, stretching across the horizon like a wall of metal and light. Their engines thundered, shaking the ground. Dust rose in waves. The forgotten world had finally been found. Inside the underground base, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed across the walls. Humans and aliens ran through the corridors, readying weapons, sealing gates, loading energy cells. The air was filled with fear, but also determination. Captain Mira Hayes stood on a high platform, her armor scarred, her eyes sharp. Around her stood soldiers of every kind. Humans, reptilians, insectoids, even machines that once served the Council. All now united under one banner. She raised her voice over the chaos. "They think they're coming to destroy us. But today we show them what happens when the forgotten fight back." A roar answered her. Voices from 100 worlds shouting as one. Eli, standing beside her, grinned. "Captain, this feels like suicide." Mira smirked. "Then let's make it a beautiful one." The ground shook again. The Council fleet began its descent. In orbit, the command ship Oblivion's Eye glowed with deadly energy. Inside, the ancient leader Valzan watched through cold eyes. "End it quickly," he ordered. "No mercy for them." General Cathor stood beside him, silent. His hands clenched behind his back. He had sworn loyalty to the Council once, but his heart was no longer theirs. As the ships moved into attack formation, Cathor whispered, "Forgive me, old friend." He struck. In one swift move, he drew his plasma blade and cut through the control unit. Sparks exploded. The ship lurched. Soldiers shouted as alarm screamed. Cathor tore the Council insignia from his armor. "This war ends tonight, but not the way you planned." Before Valzan could respond, Cathor activated a hidden beacon. A bright signal pulsed across space and straight to Thalor. Down on the planet, Mira saw the beacon on her screen. "That's Cathor," she said. "He's turning their fleet against itself." Eli's eyes widened. "Are you saying we have a chance?" Mira smiled faintly. "We always did." She grabbed her rifle and spoke into her communicator. "All units, prepare to engage." Above, the first Council bombs fell, tearing open the desert. Fire rained from the sky. But the Alliance didn't run. Humans and aliens poured out of their bunkers, firing plasma cannons and railguns. The battle began. The air burned with explosions. Ships crashed like falling stars. The sand turned to glass under the heat of energy blasts. Humans fought with precision and unity, moving as one body, one mind. "Left flank, hold the line," Mira shouted, sprinting through smoke. Her suit was cracked, her voice hoarse, but her spirit unbroken. Dr. Lena dragged wounded soldiers to cover, her hands covered in blood. "Don't die on me now," she muttered. "You've come too far for that." Eli manned an anti-air turret, blasting enemy drones out of the sky. "Come on," he yelled, laughing through the chaos. "This is for Earth." The rebels began to push back. Alien war machines that once served the Council now fought alongside humans, roaring as they tore through enemy ranks. For every human that fell, 3 more stood. For every ship destroyed, 2 more rose from the ground. In orbit, Cathor's rebellion spread. Half the Council fleet turned against their own. Fire filled the void as ships clashed in brutal silence. Faelzan watched his empire crumble. His voice trembled with fury. "You traitor! You've doomed us all!" Cathor replied calmly. "No, I freed us." He turned the ship toward the planet. "Captain Mira, this is Cathor. I'm bringing you a gift." The Oblivion's eye dove from orbit, its engines burning bright. It slammed into the largest Council dreadnought, detonating in a blinding explosion that lit the sky like a second sun. The shockwave rolled across Thalor, shaking the ground for miles. When the light faded, the battlefield was silent. Smoke drifted across the plains. The once invincible Council fleet was gone, shattered and burning in the atmosphere. Mira staggered to her feet, her armor scorched, her body shaking. Around her, soldiers began to rise, cheering weakly. "It's over," Eli whispered, looking at the sky. Mira looked up too, at the wreckage of ships falling like shooting stars. "No," she said softly. "It's just beginning." The rebels and humans gathered around her. Dr. Lena stepped forward. "Captain, the Council is finished." "What happens now?" Mira took a deep breath. "Now we rebuild. No more empires. No more trials. Every world gets to stand free." The alien leader from Thalor nodded. "And the humans?" Mira smiled tiredly. "We go home. But this time, the galaxy will remember our name." That night, as fires dimmed and the stars returned, the survivors built a small beacon on the highest ridge. A message pulsed through the void, simple and clear. "We are human. We survived. We remember." On countless worlds, beings looked up at the same stars and whispered the word they had once mocked: human. For the first time, it didn't sound weak. It sounded eternal. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, a quiet voice of an old general echoed in the wind. They thought humans were fragile, but they were made of something the galaxy had forgotten: hope. The galaxy would never be the same again.